Good afternoon, everybody. We're back again in my studio with our wonderful videographer, Chris Kyler. Say hi, Kai.
Hello.
Anyway, we're going to wrap up our project, or hopefully we're getting close to wrapping up this project. I know it's been a very labor-intensive thing, and I just wanted to do a quick demo of how to lay in a background, a contrasting background that'll differ a little bit, as you can see, as I did here on my Tom Petty portrait. It's kind of fun to have a background that is completely different than the technical development of the rest of the portrait itself. So the first thing that I like to do, this is an illustrator's trick, is to tape off the edges. Now I go this, you can either get the blue or this green painter's tape. I get the 1-inch version. It is a low tack tape, and that way when we're pulling it from the paper, it won't pull the paper apart, hopefully. Of course, we are working with rather thin drawing paper. I normally do this on a thicker illustration board or thicker Canson papers, but we can still get away with it. So this isn't required, but I think it just gives a cleaner finish to your drawing. When you get finished off, we'll pull the tape off afterwards, but it kind of gives you that nice clean border. Another option is to lay down a piece of paper and erase off the edges if you want to create it that way, but I just find it easier to tape off the edges, and I'll show you after once I'm completed how to remove that tape as well. So first thing you're going to want to do, there's a couple ways to approach this. I like to use tracing paper. Obviously that's going to be the easiest means. Of course, you don't probably have it. I don't think any of you have a pad of tracing paper, especially this size at home, but it's always a great investment for you artists out there to own 18 by 24 inch pad of tracing paper. It's very useful to have on hand. So of course you're just going to lay that over, and then of course get it in place and trace the actual exterior contour of the portrait of the head, and you come out with that, which then of course you're going to you'll of course cut that out, and you'll end up with a little mask that you can lay down over the top of this. Now most of you are going to be working flat, so you don't need to tape this to get it in place, but being that I'm working vertically, so you've got your mask set up. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple little stickies to hold this in place while I again, normally I'm doing this on a flat surface, so this step is not necessary, but okay, there we go. So let me go ahead and get that where I want that in place. Hopefully that'll stick in place. So I'm going to just be holding it. So okay, now this of course is our final graphite project. So you'll get your trusty sanding pad and get your General 314, get just an opportunity to put a nice long tapered sharp point on it like we like to have. Hopefully you've been using this with a nice point, especially on the stippling aspect of this project. So you just want to get a nice little pile of graphite onto your sanding pad there. Grab your little cotton pad that we got in our kits, load that up. You might want to make a couple of passes, but start here. Of course, you've got this covered. Start here and just create some soft bands. They'll get lighter and lighter as you go across. I don't have a whole lot of background around Tom right now, so I can see where there's a little annoying stain. It's a little uneven for me. This is the beauty of these wonderful kneaded erasers, is you can just use them to gently pull off if there's a little dark spot that you find is distracting. You can adjust that just by tapping on it and pulling that graphite off of there, and then lightly smoothing that out. I'm going to step back and look at it for a minute and see if it makes some judgments. Okay, I want to maybe get a little more up here. I try to get a feel that they're all going at the same angle. I don't want to get these alternating angles on them because that becomes a little bit distracting in the look of that background. I want to kind of just create this wonderful little ethereal background. Hold it down if necessary. That's feeling pretty good there. Okay, so what if you don't happen to have any tracing paper handy? You can use just your regular bond paper as well. I'll go ahead and remove this mask, but you can kind of see here we've got this nice background. Now, if we were doing a painting, normally that's the first thing we do is we lay in our background. We do our background first and then build forward into the picture plane. But since we're kind of working the opposite direction, we're going backwards. But again, if you don't have any tracing paper, most of the times bond paper will be translucent and transparent enough to where you can actually see that, make a tracing of where you need to go. I'm just going to cut that off there and cut it off down there. And where'd my X-Acto knife go? Oh, right back. Okay, so use your X-Acto knife to cut out another little tracing. And then essentially do the same thing, just kind of line it up where you want to block off your and protect that image. And then you're going to be working, obviously, always work from the paper off, out towards the edges. I see that I need to load up my pad a little bit more, so let me get some more graphite on there. So did you guys all get your $1,400 from Uncle Joe yet? Huh? I got mine last week. I'm happy. So again, whenever you're working, whichever direction you're working on, you start on the paper and then work off of the paper. Now, those are pretty dark, but that's okay. And again, try to be careful about getting the direction of your hand motion being relatively consistent, so it feels like it's the same background throughout the whole image. Okay, you can see some distracting stuff going on in there. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, and if you want, you can actually even go in and lay in some brighter streaks with your eraser. I don't like the way that this one's not going at the same angle, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Try to even that out. I feel pretty good about that. Let me just maybe add a little bit down here, scrub some in. Now that's feeling pretty good. Let me. That feels pretty good to me. So again, it's not a big deal really, but it really kind of adds a good finish to your drawing at the very end. So let me hopefully see if I can pull this off. Now when you're pulling tape, if you do use the tape method to kind of block this off, always wise to be careful. Again, when you're putting it down, you only really need to burnish down the very inside edge. I don't sit there and rub the whole piece down because again, I want it to be kind to the paper as I'm removing it. And I always try to kind of pull very slowly, very gently. Don't get in a hurry. Okay, I gotta change places with my tape so I can keep it up there. There we go. Pull it away from your image. If worse comes to worse and the tape sticks to the paper and starts pulling off the edge of the paper, you don't want to tear into your image. So be careful to always pull it away from your image. And of course I didn't put anything down here, so I didn't probably even need that one, but let me do one more little swap out of the location of the tapes. And again, pull slowly, low and slow away from the image. Again, if you do decide to go get this paint, any hardware store, Miners, or wherever you go for your hardware stuff, either get the green or the blue painter's tape. I prefer the green. I think it's even a lower tack than the actual blue stuff. So that's about it, folks. You know, pretty simple, but you can see it adds quite a bit of a nice artistic contrast to it and just gives a finish to it. Now, one last little thing I want to mention is if you don't have any translucent regular paper, pieces of paper, or tracing paper, of course, you can always do what I did with old Che Guevara here and just kind of come up with, I tore a piece of paper and laid it over well outside the boundaries of the head itself, and then went ahead, taped off the edges, did the same process essentially, but just kind of gave it this other kind of a arbitrary shape behind his head to contrast off. So it kind of almost gives two little background contrasts. So that's it, folks. See you back in class, and we'll continue with wrapping this project up. So thank you, and later.